Hi, my name is Lena. Welcome to my channel, and this is the second video in Troy Read Alone videos. My second video. Um, we have read chapters 7 till 12, I think. And I said in my first video that I wasn't that much impressed with the writing, with the story itself, after reading Ovid's Metamorphoses. But now I got used to the language, to the words that are no longer used in Russian language, because it was translation made in 1829. So I used to these words, I used to the language, and I started enjoying it. About the translation, it was made by a Russian poet, Nikolai Ivanovich Gnedich. But the thing that bothers me is that long ago Pushkin wrote an epigram about Gnedich. Gnedich, he lived through smallpox. He survived, but he wasn't just scarred. He lost one of his eyes, so he was, according to Pushkin, half blind. Homer was completely blind. Pushkin says that Gnedich is half blind and that his translation of Iliad is just half as good as the original. So apparently Pushkin could read in Greek, in ancient Greek, and he could enjoy this work, this epic poem in original. And the thing that bothers me is that the translation I'm reading and enjoying is just half as good as the original. So that's what I wanted to complain about. In first 6 chapters, we had a fight between Paris and Menelaus. If you remember, Paris stole Menelaus' wife, Helen, and married her. She is considered to be his wife now. And there was some sort of agreement between Trojans and Achaeans that whoever wins the fight wins Helen of Troy and the treasure that apparently Paris stole with Helen from Sparta. And technically Paris loses this fight. He was kidnapped, abducted by Aphrodite. So she saved his life. She covered him with this with black fog, something like that. So she concealed him from Menelaus and everybody else and saved him. But technically he lost the fight. He should have given up Helen and treasures. Afterwards, there is a sabotage that actually gods caused, and a big battle that lasted the entire day. And to end this battle, Trojans and Achaeans decided to make another fight, another duel between Hector and Ajax. And it looks to me like Hector was losing. This fight, this battle wasn't finished as well. It was stopped because they were losing daylight. It was evening. It was late in the evening. So this battle was stopped. But it looks to me that if this battle hadn't been stopped, Hector would have probably died, because Ajax, he has this tremendous, almost unhuman strength. He is a huge man, he is very strong. I guess he has a longer reach. So it looks to me like he was making more damage to Hector than Hector was doing to him. So technically, Trojan lost this first battle, and Paris lost his fight, and he should have given up Helen and the treasure. But he decides instead to give up treasure and to add some of his own treasures, but he refuses to give up Helen. But apparently, this treasure is not enough for Achaeans. They kind of tasted victory, I think. So one of their heroes, Diomedes, I think, he was a favorite of Athena. She helped him, so he was quite a hero during this first battle. And I think he wants more fame. He wants to add more heroic deeds to his resume. So he says that they wouldn't leave even if Paris gave up Helen. So they are staying to fight now. And so I think they want all the treasures of city of Troy. They want Troy and all of its treasures. And this attitude towards life and towards fame, that fame and glory is everything, that it's much more important than life, than your life, and especially than the lives of people next to you, of warriors next to you. I had some problems with it when I was reading not this edition, but the campaign of Alexander. There was a moment in the campaign when, to participate in fight, Alexander and his army, they needed to cross a river and then climb the bank of the river. They were in a very unfavorable situation. So, and on the top of the bank there was an army. I think Persians. They probably wasn't called Persians back then. I'm sorry, guys. I do not remember. So they were waiting for Alexander. And Arian says that Alexander knew that he was going to lose a lot of soldiers. He saw it. But if he hadn't crossed this river, if he hadn't climbed these banks, these hills, if he had found an easier solution, it wouldn't have been that heroic, it wouldn't be worthy of fame. So he decided to go to cross the river and to climb the hill. And Arian says that Alexander was one of the first people who climbed this hill, which is not true, because several lines before that he said that first people who climbed this hill, they were not basically chopped into pieces, they were killed. And Alexander wasn't one of them. So I have some problems with that, with this attitude towards life and towards fame. Um, after this, after this battle, after these fights, Achaeans and the Trojans, they had short truce in order to burn their dead the way their customs required. And next day they have another battle, and this time this battle is, well, Zeus forbids God to take part in this gods to take part in this battle, and he himself favors Trojans. So Achaeans start losing, and there was a council after this battle, and they decided to ask Achilles to forgive them. They decided to ask him to fight with them. And Agamemnon chooses men to go to Achilles, Odysseus, his friend, and a very good speaker, and I do not remember his name. The old man who whom Achilles knew growing up. So Agamemnon sends them to Achilles to promise him Berseida, his slave, back, and to promise him rich gifts so that he forgive Agamemnon and that he would fight for Achaeans. But Achilles doesn't forgive him. I think he felt that he was humiliated, that he was gravely humiliated, and he wants this great public humiliation for Agamemnon and for the Achaeans, all the Achaeans who let this happen. So he refuses to fight, and he refuses to accept gifts. Although actually Agamemnon, I think, asked him to become his son-in-law, but Achilles refuses. So there is another day of fighting. And attitude towards fighting changes. Before that, Achaeans, they were fighting for victory, of course, for fame, and for loot. So their minor goals were to kill their opponent and to take their opponent's armor as spoils of war. I don't know. So now they kill even rich Trojans who could have been ransomed. So they become quite serious about this fighting. In all these 12 chapters, Achilles always says that he is the only one who does all the fighting, that he is the only hero in the entire army of Achaeans, so he is the only one worthy of fame, something like that. But now we can see Agamemnon, Menelaus, and Odysseus fight, and they are not cowards. I'm sorry, guys. And at some point, Odysseus is shown fighting a lot of Trojans, and he is compared to a lion, and Trojans are compared to a pack of hounds. It's very, very vivid, I think, and very interesting. and Odysseus, he could have been killed in this fight. What surprised me the most, the things that remind me of Christianity. For example, it probably the fault of translator who was a Christian himself. So Agamemnon is called a shepherd of the people, a shepherd of Achaeans several times. And when at some point, at first he was very successful in fighting, but after he was wounded lightly, he kind of loses his faith, his self-assuredness, and at that moment, the favor changes. So Trojans start winning at that point, where after Agamemnon loses his faith and his self-assuredness. And this bit actually wasn't in the Iliad, but it was in Ovid Metamorphosis, the story of death of Heracles, when it kind of reminds me of Christianity as well, that Son of God performed miracles of unhuman strength, then he dies a horrible death, and then he becomes a god. So that reminded me of Christianity as well. And but it was Ovid's Metamorphosis. What I liked about these chapters, I think it's what you guys call metaphors. These very vivid pictures, very vivid pictures that Homer creates when he compares different heroes to different animals in different situations. They are very vivid, and they kind of show you the character of these heroes. For example, when he was comparing Odysseus to a lion to show his courage and his skills, fighting skills, and when he compares Ajax, I don't remember the animal. I think it was us. So this stubborn animal that is extremely strong. So he kind of underlines the strength of Ajax. What made all this fighting very real and horrific to me? One short line, when Homer says that it was difficult to find a place to see it because all of the corpses lying around. So, and I found a bit of further reading. I had tragedies of Sophocles, and there are two tragedies. One is called Ajax, so it's I'm hoping to read it, and the other is called Philoctet, about the guy they left on the island because he was wounded. I think he was bitten by a snake. Well, so, and this is actually a book I bought recently. It's Aeschylus, Tragedies by Aeschylus, and he has a trilogy, Orestia, and one of the characters is Agamemnon. So I found a bit of further reading. I also bought, I'm sorry, Virgil, Aeneid by Virgil, and 2 volumes of Ovid. It's his Metamorphoses, it's his letters from Pontus, and some other of his works. And I'm still waiting on 2 volumes of Euripides. So I'm looking forward to getting them and to looking through them in the search of some of the characters that were in the Trojan War. Thank you for watching. Goodbye and happy reading.